Hey guys, just finished watching The Flash, Season 5, Episode 11, Seeing Red. What an interesting episode. The title is, I guess it's kind of accurate, but it's kind of a little bit, only pertains to like a very small part of the episode. But, so we see that Cicada is back during this episode, and that's kind of interesting. We're dealing with Cicada again, so it's really not a kind of a filler episode. That's kind of good there. But we see Killer Frost, and Caitlin is just trying to work on the cure that Cisco's trying to make for being metahuman, right? But Killer Frost won't let Caitlin work with it. You know, keeps kind of screwing up her calculations and stuff. So I think that's kind of interesting. It was kind of a fun storyline dealing with that, and Elongated Man dealing with the kind of the storyline of Killer Frost not wanting Caitlin to take a cure, because at the end of the day, if Caitlin takes the cure, it'll get rid of Killer Frost. And I think that's really the storyline was really kind of fun to play with, and I really like that dynamic for the two characters as moving forward. I think it's really going to be fun playing with that. We see Killer Frost ends up, at one point they end up finding Cicada really early on in the episode. And, Killer Frost kind of ends up freezing him. She freezes like his hands to the wall, and that's it. And then he breaks out, hits Nora in the back, and pretty much paralyzes her. And I was just like, okay, but why did Killer Frost only freeze his hand? Why not, just like in the comic books, every time someone uses the freeze, just freeze his entire body? Doesn't need to freeze him to a building or anything, to a wall. Just kind of freeze his entire body so that he's completely in a block of ice and he cannot move and only his head is sticking out, right? Why not do something like that? Why just a little bit of ice there? And if you're just going to do a little bit on the arm, a little bit on the, also do the feet, and like it just seemed a bit, I would have just, knowing how powerful he is, one day of she had completely covered her in ice, and I think that would have been the way to do that. But I guess for the story purposes, she only put a little bit of ice over his arm so he could easily break out of that. So that was kind of a bit silly there, but I guess plot is the reason for that. So they end up collecting, they find out that Cicada has a list from the CCPD, and they end up collecting all the metas on the list, and they gather them all together, trying to get them to safety and stuff. And that's when Iris ends up tells Sherlock to stop investigating Nora. I think he's obviously really deep into doing that, so that'll be cool to see as to where things kind of go with that storyline. It's kind of starting to ramp up and stuff. That's kind of cool there. We see that Cicada, we know that he finds out he has a cop who leaked kind of the list and stuff to him, and he's like, oh, I got contacts with the feds, and it's like, first of all, it looked like just a young cop, so I was like, really, you have contacts with the feds? They owe you a favor to give you sensitive information like that? Yeah, you might know someone in passing in there, but not enough. Like, I don't know, it just seemed to me like this young cop wouldn't have, who knows? You never know, right? But he might know someone in the FBI or something like that. But he wouldn't. I don't know if he would know enough. Like he owe him a favor enough to give him, tell him sensitive information, like a transporting of people who are endangered, right? And the whole thing is that the police can't take care of him because I'm assuming Cecile would have said to the FBI that there's a leak in the CCPD. We need you guys to deal with it and not the police department because there's a leak there. And so, I just don't see it. It just seemed a bit kind of too convenient for this young cop to have kind of to have a contact in there that would give him that information. Someone like Joe West, who's been on for a while and been a police officer for a few years and built relationships with people, and yeah, but this young cop, maybe he's been on for 10 years. I don't see him having been on for 20 years like Joe has, 20, 30 years, and that would make more sense, building up relationships with people and things like that. But a young cop like that, I don't see. To me, it just didn't make sense that he would have that kind of contact, but whatever. We see Barry almost ends up killing a Cicada, but then Nora shows up showing that she can still walk and stuff, and it's like, oh, so it's like, okay, she's completely back without this episode. So, it's kind of interesting, this episode. I mean, her getting healed right away, it's just like, okay, just may as well just put her into a coma for the episode. It really wasn't, I don't know why they would kind of had her get so much injured and then just to come right back at the end of the episode. It was kind of like, okay, kind of defeats the purpose of the whole thing. And then when she got hit so early on in the episode, within like the first 5 minutes of the episode, she gets paralyzed, and then you're just like, you don't really feel anything for it. It's like, oh, cool, and then you feel like, oh, maybe, and then nothing happened, and then at the end of the episode, it comes out, and it just takes away the weight of her getting hit. And every time a main character gets injured like that, it's like, is it really going to do anything? Is it going to last out of this episode? Not really. So that's just kind of like disappointing with that. It's like it wasn't as impactful as it could have been, as if things like this didn't happen too often, and if it when it does happen, it lasted for a while. Like if she had been out for a few episodes, then that would be way more interesting and things would be way more impactful. Whereas here it was just like, just want to get you out of this episode. So it was like kind of the weight is taken away from it. We see Killer Frost ends up getting a blood sample from Cicada and stuff, and then so Caitlin can then use it to make a cure. So I think that'll be cool to see that. Then Sherlock is still looking into Nora and looking into the book and stuff. He finds evidence of 2 different handwritings, and we obviously know that it's future. It is a reverse flash and stuff. So I think that's going to be cool to see as to where things kind of go with that. And then we see Barry wants to wake up. He realizes that Cicada is his father, and if his daughter's in trouble, in a coma, and if we can find a way to help her heal and wake up type of thing, then we can appeal to his side. So I think that's going to be interesting to see as to kind of where things go with that. Do they get Grace up, and how far has he gone? Last time we saw Grace as a child and stuff, it was kind of interesting and stuff, and I like the way things were going with that, so I think it could be cool to see that. And then maybe she finds out that what all the things he's been doing in her name and stuff while she's been in a coma. And I know she's only like 9 years old, but it would be interesting to see her kind of scared of him type thing, and seeing how that would kind of send him spiraling, and kind of he would just lose it, right? And I think that could be something interesting with that, or I think it could be something difficult. Or I could see something would be really kind of interesting, is if they try to help Cicada, and then in the midst of everything, things kind of happen, try to help Grace, and in the midst of everything, Cicada ends up accidentally killing his daughter. I'm going to predict something like that. If they were to go a thing like that, where they were trying to do real good, but things just got screwed up and mixed up, and then Cicada somehow ends up killing his daughter, and he thinks that the Flash blames the Flash for making him, blames Team Flash and stuff for making him kill his daughter. I think that could be a thing that would really send him spiraling down, and would make this way more interesting, and I think it'd be a really interesting twist to play with for these characters. So I think I can't wait to see as to where things kind of go if they decide to go that route, but I doubt they're going to go that route, but that would be a dark route that I'd love to see them go. I think that could be fun. And then we end the episode with Cicada has a scrapbook of everyone and stuff, of all the heroes, so that's going to be cool to see as to what kind of information he has on them and stuff, which is is okay, but it wasn't as big of a cliffhanger as as they wanted it to be. It was like, oh cool, of course he has a scrapbook about all the heroes he's been fighting. Why would he not, right? So that was kind of like, okay, but just not as big of a cliffhanger as they wanted it to be. So yeah, the next episode looks kind of interesting, dealing with looks like they're all going to go inside of Nora's memory and stuff. I think that's going to be interesting to see as to where things are going and how things are going to go. Hopefully it's not too much of a filler episode, and actually deals with a lot of dealing with finding out that she's working for the Reverse Flash and all that stuff, and maybe Sherlock comes clean to the rest of the Team Flash, who's not traveling inside of Nora's mind and stuff. And I think that can be interesting, dealing with that, as long as it directly heavily deals with the Nora working for Reverse Flash storyline, and not, because I'm afraid in the next episode it might just be one of those episodes where at the end of the episode they find out she's working for Reverse Flash, but we don't get that reveal to the end of the episode. So all you really need to know is that they just found out that she's working for Reverse Flash, and it's like, you only need the last 5 minutes, the reveal that she's working for Reverse Flash. The rest is kind of just waste of time. So hopefully they don't do anything like that, and they maybe they find out that she's working for Reverse Flash early on in the episode, within like the first 10 minutes. and then kind of and so then they can play with that for the whole episode rather than just leaving it for the end, and then the whole episode is just the waste of time, right? So we'll have to wait and see as to where things go and how things kind of play out. So yeah, all in all, I can't wait to see as to where things go with that, and that'll be fun to see. But yeah, I'll have to wait and see as how things turn out. So let me know what you think, guys, about this episode in the comments below. Season 5, Episode 11, Seeing Red, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes subscribing is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.